generally, it's almost never engage in any kind of discussion in that particular context. It's just not enough time, and it's not very comfortable to do that. Anyway, a guy sent me a YouTube link, and I almost never look at them. But since he said, hey, here's the guy who says he's calling in the Dividing Line on Thursday, I went ahead and looked at it. It was one of William's videos. And so William has called in today, and before we put him on the air, I would like to replay, well, not actually replay, but play the segment of the first video, which we didn't get to last week, just to set these things up. William posted two videos in response to a single article that was posted by Turretin Fan on the subject of Mariolatry, as we would use that terminology in regards to the Roman Catholic over-exaltation of Mary. And let's listen to some of the things that William had to say.
Right. This video is to detail the usage, the poor scholarship of Alpha and Omega Ministries, which is run by James White. This latest diatribe against Catholicism was not written by James White, but by another blogger. But obviously, if it's appearing on AOMen, it reflects the approval of James White, the director of Alpha and Omega Ministries, And the scholarship of this article, and you can read the article on the right-hand side of this page, the scholarship is just awful. It's appalling. We're going to start off with what the blogger is doing, and he's examining preaching of our Pope, our Holy Father, Benedict XVI, who preached about placing the world in Mary's hands and many other things. About a week back or so, not even a week ago, I think it was on October the 19th or 18th or so. But anyhow, this blogger decided to take it into his own interpretation to say just exactly what the Pope is saying and to accuse Catholicism of worshiping Mary, that is. Anyhow, the first thing this person points out is this. He quotes from Benedict, he's quoted from a website actually. The website says this: Benedict XVI placed the world in Mary's hands during his one-day visit to the shrine of Our Lady of the Rosary in Pompeii near Naples. Well, an examination of this is absolutely true. Many prior Christians and even early fathers placed people in Mary's hands. It's definitely not sinful in the sense that you ask for the intercession of a departed saint who is now closer to God than you are. You ask the saint pray for you and help you in your guidance towards the crown of eternal life. Such a thought is absent in Protestantism due to its false doctrines of sola scriptura and sola fide, two doctrines that were created in the 16th century. Of course, you'll hear an uproar from AOMen saying, oh, that's not true, what about this and that, Father? They believe in sola scriptura or sola fide, and they'll do the famous Webster shuffle, and shuffle the intention of the Father, his quote around, to make it seem as if the Father supported the false doctrines of sola fide or sola scriptura. Something James White has laughably tried to do with Athanasius over and over in debates, only to be made look foolish when it's shown that Athanasius was far from a trumpeter of sola scriptura. It is what I call the Webster shuffle, from anti-Catholic individual William Webster, who has published laugh articles many times over and attempted to twist the church fathers out of place. Similar to the joke series that James produced on Ignatius that I tore to shreds, you simply wonder how much longer you can take this ministry seriously.
So that's the kind of rhetoric that we have from William. He included in the second video stuff about my teaching of Greek, for example.
We must ask AOMen, Alpha and Omega Ministries, or just ask James White, to clarify where in the Greek, maybe. James, sure, you're a Greek expert, eh? I've been teaching Greek for 20 years? 30 years? I wasn't even born since you've been teaching Greek for so long. You're like the pro in it, right? Or maybe we can ask James to exegete the Aramaic, right? Maybe James has a secret Aramaic copy. Or the Latin, or the Spanish. Or, where can we exegete this passage and find out that Christ is castigating someone due to their adoration of Mary?
Etc. etc. So we played that last week, and so after the program, had some correspondence with William, and he said he would call in today, which he has done, calling in from Texas. So let's go ahead and talk with William from Texas. Hi, William.
How you doing, James? Good evening.
Doing pretty good.
But what particularly bothered me, I heard you playing my video. By the way, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
All right. Well, what particularly pretty much bothered me, I believe, of course, are the misrepresentations that you've allowed on your website. I'm not even sure what the name of the poster was anymore. I found it, well, I guess, particularly upsetting that, that you would allow such distortions, I believe, at least on Catholic doctrine, to be placed up there. I guess, for instance, I don't have the article in front of me. I can pull it up if you'd like, but claiming that Mary worship is still alive. And what bothered me a little bit more, was the complete distortion of the message of Pope Benedict. I mean, to be quite honest, I don't even know if the poster you allowed to post read the whole thing in context, but it particularly bothered me. And really the main reason I'm calling in is, I guess, you pretty much told me you were going to be able to document the evidence that you have that proves that Catholicism worships Mary, and pretty much the main reason why I'm calling in.
Yeah, well, William, I'm sure you've listened to my debate with Patrick Madrid on the subject, yes?
Absolutely, I have, but...
you have?
Yes, of course, absolutely.
Okay.
I've heard the debate many times.
Okay, so since you've heard it many times, then can you do what Patrick didn't do and demonstrate that latria and dulia are not related in their root meaning in Scripture, so that you can substantiate the distinction by which you can allow someone to hyper-venerate Mary, to pray to Mary, to light candles to Mary, to bow before statues of Mary, and yet not call that worship. Can you establish from the Scriptures that is, in fact, not worship?
Well, you made one interesting comment that I apologize I didn't mark down where it was in your debate against Madrid, but I'm not going to be quoting you verbatim here, but you said that when a soldier bows before a centurion, that would not be in a religious context.
Right.
And actually, that's a very, very good point you made, James. I think it was a really good point because it allowed me to parallel the comment to us bowing before a representation of Mary. At least I believe. The bowing that goes to Mary, of course, if done in a proper form, of course, is simply respect. That's it.
It's not done in a religious context?
Can I finish what I'm saying, please? The bowing goes to Mary in a form of respect, and that's pretty much it. And I enjoyed your comment because it's similar to the bowing that a soldier gives to his higher authority, because I guess I believe the higher authority deserves that honor. I think Mary similarly is closer to God than we are, and has achieved that crown that we strive to one day also achieve. And that's pretty much the reason why Catholics honor Mary. Mary also, like the centurion, was a human, not a god. And that's pretty much the plain and simple fact. We bow to Mary, we bow to her and respect her and honor her and acknowledge the beauty of God's creation. We don't honor the statue or respect the statue at all. I mean, the honor goes to Mary, which ultimately goes to God. So I didn't quite understand that analogy of yours, and I don't think it really holds up when you compare the analogies.
Well, since you just used the analogy, as I pointed out, you just misused it, and that is, I said that in a non-religious context, proskuneo could be used of something that was not worship. However, proskuneo, when it is used in a religious context, always does mean worship. That is why when people tried to proskuneo the apostles, they said, do not do that, worship only God. When John tried to proskuneo the angel in the book of Revelation, likewise, he said, do not do that, worship only God. And so you just refuted yourself because you demonstrated that you said that this only goes to God. And, of course, my point was that if it's in a non-religious context, proskuneo could mean that. You just demonstrated you're talking about a religious context. I don't think anyone listening audience could possibly believe that what they observe with Roman Catholics bowing before Mary, praying to Mary, seeking Mary's intercession is in a non-religious context. It most clearly is a religious context, and therefore it is worship, and therefore you have yet to answer my first question, which was, can you demonstrate to us that the latria dulia distinction upon which you base your defense of Rome's hyper-veneration of Mary does not violate the biblical command against giving worship to God?
Okay, James, I completely don't agree with the way you completely twisted my words, saying that I refuted myself. I really don't think I refuted myself because honor and respect, that's pretty much all that is given to Mary. We don't think Mary was the God. We don't think Mary is the God now. Similar to the honor and respect that the centurion is given, I don't think it's any different than the honor and respect we give to Mary. And I did not say that we give Mary any form of worship whatsoever. You're saying that it pretty much amounts to worship. What I believe is that it pretty much amounts to worship of God, because any honor or any service you give to any creature of God is directly given to God. But
okay, well, wait a minute. You just I don't think anyone can understand what you're saying, because on one end you try to say, oh, it's just like a soldier in front of a centurion. I don't know if any soldier has ever asked a centurion to save his eternal soul and to give him grace.
I never once said that, but I never once said that it's the exact same thing. I didn't say that.
Okay, so it's not the same thing. Okay.
I parallel the fact that they're both human beings, therefore we're not giving either one of them latria at all. That's pretty much what the reason I used that example. I never once said that it's the exact same thing, or that Mary is the exact same thing as the centurion. Okay,
so the veneration that you give to Mary is actually going to God, so why isn't that worship? You still haven't... Where is this distinction?
I'm telling you that any veneration or any honor given to any creature of God is ultimately honor towards God and goes towards God. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And I will get to your latria dulia distinction, but I wanted to ask you, I wanted to ask you, does the church claim that the dulia that is given to Mary is exactly the same as latria? Do you think that they claim that at all in any document?
Actually, someone made that exact errant question in the audience questions in the Madrid debate, and I demonstrated at that time
I did hear
the same error. The argument has been clearly stated that it is the distinction between latria and dulia that is unbiblical. The Hebrew term is avad. If you could demonstrate to us that avad does not mean worship and service, both latria and dulia, then you'll establish your case. If you cannot, then you have to, in essence, reject the biblical usage and establish an extra-canonical usage to defend your position.
So are you pretty much saying that you believe that every single time the dulia is used is in the form of worship? Like every single time?
Of course not. No one could possibly. I'm going to finish. Excuse me. I'm going to. I let you finish your point, and I'm going to finish my point because you're trying to. No one could possibly think that because dulia is used in religious worship of God, that means every time it's used in that same way, just as proskuneo, as I mentioned earlier, can be used in a secular, non-religious context in the same way that it can be used in a religious context. But duliuo is used of worship when the Apostle Paul speaks to the Galatians and says that they serve those which are by nature not gods. No one can possibly argue that was not, in fact, religious worship.
I would agree 100%. James, you've cut me off before, too, so I don't understand why you're getting upset because I was attempting to cut you off. You cut me off a little while ago when I was
William, just move along. You're complaining about things that really aren't relevant to the conversation.
Yeah, they're not relevant. All right, James. So you just admitted that dulia is not always used in the sense of worship, right?
I've never stated otherwise. That's not an admission. That's a simple fact.
What is the point of saying that there's no biblical distinction between latria and dulia?
Because of the fact that in the Bible, if you allow God's divine revelation to define your categories for you, in the religious context, both worship and service come from one root concept, the idea of distinguishing them so that you can, in a religious context, bow down in front of a person, pray to a person, light candles to a person, but that's not worship, is not a biblical concept. You cannot find anywhere in the Bible where Christians engage in that kind of behavior, and it's called, outside of a religious context, anything other than worship. Can you? Where?
Okay, Jim, can you name, I'm just curious, you're a lot better in the Greek than I am. In fact, you'd probably humiliate me. Can you name just one Greek lexicon that tells us